republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mark Denny.
Here.
Alan Stork.
Here.
Jaden Bailey.
Here.
Marcus Major.
Here.
Wolf Smith is absent. Rocky Hempel is absent. Robert Owens.
Here.
Tom Dials.
Here.
Jeff Spink is absent. And I'm present, Steve Rosenthal. We have 7 members present. Do I have a motion on the June minutes? Okay. Got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm seconded. Motion on the floor and a second to approve the minutes for the June meeting. Any discussion? I just noticed there was one typo where 9 members were said voted instead of 8. So, and Stephanie knows about it, and she will correct that. Otherwise, I'll have a roll call vote. Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Marcus Major.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
And I don't vote, so it's 6-0. Secretary's report.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the regular agenda, and then we do have a BZA case. I will need all 7 of you to stick around for that, as we need 7 members for BZA. Item A, the DEV 22067, that is being carried over from last month. The public hearing has been open. You all did close it last month. As I stated when I sent you out the agenda and the report, we are recommending that be tabled. The applicant is currently working with staff on submitting the items needed for a new special use permit, which is the direction that was given by the Board of County Commissioners. I have been working with Olson, our engineering consultants, on gathering the information that they need, that I need to pass on to the applicants. That's been a little slower going than I had anticipated that it would be, but it is coming along now. And because of that, like I said, we're recommending that it be tabled, but you all are open. You are all welcome to discuss anything that you would like to discuss, as this is obviously your opportunity to discuss this case amongst yourselves. But with that, I don't have anything else.
Okay. Any declarations?
Mr. Chairman, I've had one phone call on the landfill situation, but it was basically a character recommendation.
Okay.
Didn't have anything to do with my decision at all.
I don't mean to be rude, but we can't even hear nothing you guys are saying out here.
Well, these aren't microphones, right?
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
Well, we'll try to speak louder.
Okay, thank you.
Acoustics in this room is not great, so. Any other declarations? Do I have a motion for the agenda? 2 items on the consent agenda. If we approve the.
Chairman, I move approval of consent agenda.
Okay. Tom made the motion. Have a second?
Second.
Major. Marcus. Motion on the floor with a second to approve the agenda as written. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mark Denny.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Marcus Major.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. All right. First item. Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now consider case number DEV 22-067, special use permit, termination of flatland excavating as outlined in the posted agenda. The public hearing has already been open and closed, so staff report.
Commissioner, I can go over this if you would like. There is not anything additional to present from last month. Again, as I stated during my secretary's report, the applicants are working on submitting the information that we have requested of them. I did have a meeting, with their attorney last week. They have stated that they are open to submitting a new special use permit application that we would take through the process just like any other special use permit. Again, that is at the direction of the Board of County Commissioners. I'll answer any questions that you may have. Like I said, if you all want to discuss this amongst yourselves, you're certainly welcome to. But I don't see a point in belaboring a staff report we've been through once before.
Correct. I know several of us been out there. Well, some of us been out there. Do we want to talk about that now or visit out there, or do we want to wait till we hear it next month?
Chairman, that is completely up to all of
What do you
to all
guys
of you.
think? We're going to table it? Just table it till next
Well,
month?
if we're going to table this, we need to reopen the public hearing part.
No, we don't.
Well, yes, we do. If we're going to give them another 30 days to bring more evidence to us, then we need to let the people bring more evidence to us as well. I mean, we're here for the citizens of Leavenworth County.
Well, they can submit everything we have.
You guys should read on your website. You should bring it up right now and read the very first page of your website. where it says planning and zoning
Sir,
issues.
that's not acceptable here.
Well-
I'm going to ask you to leave if you're going to
It's not
interrupt.
acceptable to adjourn it.
Sir, enough.
Mr. Van Paris, what's our legal deal? I mean, if we're going to give them more time, do we not give the citizens more time?
Commissioner Owens, the Planning Commission opened and closed the public hearing portion of this process at your last meeting. The public hearing process is closed. Consequently, neither the Flatland nor the citizens, their opportunity to speak and be heard by you and to submit information has passed.
Okay.
Now, if you wish to reopen the public hearing process, you would have to publish notice of the reopening of that hearing, and it could be done probably in time for August or possibly September,
Yes,
but it would require public notice.
Okay. My voice is, if we're going to extend the time for Flatland, we need to extend the time for a new public hearing as well.
I do want to clarify that with a new special use permit application, that's a new public hearing process. So that in and of itself would allow for another public hearing.
Commissioner Owens, I understand your concern. Your concern is that these folks who've traveled here this evening, at their inconvenience, I doubt if they really scheduled this in advance with anticipation that they would enjoy it, needs to be respected. That being said, you conducted the public hearing. As Crystal outlined to you, it is anticipated, it hasn't been received yet, but it's anticipated that Flatland might submit a new special use permit application, which would change the complexion of this matter. However, at this time, the matter before you was heard last month. The public hearing was opened. You allowed voluminous public comment. Everybody who was here was allowed to speak. You accepted commentary and written information from Flatland Excavating, and you closed the public hearing. Consequently, it's at your discretion, but you are prepared to enter into discussions and deliberations as to the conclusion of the matter.
Well, if they're going to submit a new special use permit, there's really no reason to even talk about because we don't know what that's going to be at this time, right? If they submit a new one, we don't know what they're going to submit, right?
Correct.
Should we contemplate a potential deadline of when they should have that in? Otherwise, they could just belabor this. Or
Yeah, I think that is absolutely acceptable for the Planning Commission to provide it.
I think next month should be at least a deadline for us to come to some sort of conclusion.
Well,
I was hoping this one would be a deadline, but
then that's what I'm saying. We've already went through all this. We've all read all the information. Then if they're going to ask for a new special use, then I think we should decide on the old special use tonight. Either grant it or deny it. And then let them go forward with the new special use. Or if we grant it, then there's no need for a new special use.
That is the discretion of the Planning Commission.
what's the feeling, people?
Mr. Chairman, if I might, the role of the Planning Commission, you're all familiar with it, is to weigh matters regarding the planning and zoning of Leavenworth County, Kansas. You're all familiar with your own rules and regulations and the criteria set out under Kansas courts as to how to apply to these matters. That being stated, your decision would not be final this evening. It would go to the Board of County Commissioners with a recommendation. If it is anticipated that Flatland would be submitting a new special use permit application, rendering a decision this evening, which would only be heard by the Board of County Commissioners at a later date, might be an exercise in the proverbial two ships passing in the night.
Right.
So if it might be, I think Commissioner Bailey had a good suggestion, and possibly set a deadline that this matter will be set for a dispositive hearing at the August hearing, absent the consideration of a new special use permit application. Should no new special use application be received, you would move to resolve this matter with finality.
So August would be the drop dead date.
If we
a
dedicate
new thing, and then again, we would have to open it up to the public if it's a new special use permit. Is that correct? Otherwise, if they don't submit one, we would go make a decision on what material we got now that we all have. So
Yes.
there would be no new material added at all. So
Correct.
I think that's fair.
Then at that point, if it is a new special use permit, it would be open to the public again for comment.
Just like every special use permit. Yes, Commissioner.
So I guess the recommendation will be to table this, is what we're saying.
The deadline of next month being the...
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, what the Commission might want to consider is tabling this matter to a date and time certain for a dispositive hearing on the issue of the revocation of the existing special use permit.
Yeah.
That puts all parties on notice that in the absence of a new special use permit application, this matter will be determined, again, with finality on your August date.
Okay.
Does that give enough time? The
So-
August, based on the requirements in order to get a special use permit?
When will they have to get the information in to be to you?
Friday, at the
Friday?
very latest, yeah. Which I think that is, given that I just received information from Olson this afternoon, that's obviously awfully tight. I think September is much more.
Well, I'm sure they can do it.
To be clear, I think it should be known that this delay is on behalf of the county's engineers. It has nothing to do with
Sir.
So I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Yeah. Okay.
What are we waiting on the county engineers for? What more do we need to know from the engineering department?
We were seeking guidance on specific types of reports that we would want to have made part of the special use permit regarding soil testing, any air quality testing that may need to be done, and for your staff to make sure that we're requesting the appropriate items and not just the best example I can give Commissioner Owens is if I say I need a soils report, they can produce a soil survey for, that you would do for a septic system. That is technically a soils report, correct?
Correct.
So I needed to make sure that I was asking for the appropriate information, and that's why we reached out to the engineering folks with the environmental folks with our engineering consultant, because this is something that they do on a fairly regular basis, and they have that information available, as opposed to me just throwing darts at a wall and hoping something sticks. We get one bite at the apple, if you will, and so we want to make sure that that is appropriate and correct.
Okay.
Crystal, I know in the past we have, and I haven't looked at the calendar, so I don't know when the fair falls, but I know in the past we have delayed our meeting in August a week because of the county fair.
County fair is in July.
It's in July. So
26.
We're good.
So my next solution I would offer is to perhaps have a special meeting
We can certainly do that.
in the interim, so we could get this resolved for everybody's sake. Because it sounds like that's a really, really tight deadline.
Very tight deadline.
If we had a special meeting somewhere in between the scheduled August and the scheduled September, say late August. Would that be possible?
For this item only?
Yes.
I think that'd probably be a good idea, because if we are going to open it up to the public, we want to give everybody a chance. And not,
That way we're not squeezed too on time
right.
as much.
We used to have 2 a month, but that was the 4th, wasn't it? The 2nd and the 4th?
I think so.
With the 31st, August 31st, we have an extra Wednesday in the month of August.
I'm sure that'll be fine. I'm sure.
You all might want to know that there's a court-ordered mediation on that day where we will be meeting with the county commissioners on the 31st, so that scheduling might be a problem for everybody on that particular day. I think the mediation is in the afternoon. We could possibly do it in the morning. That's an option.
If we push it back to August 24th, that's pretty tight. August 24th that's an option.
That gives you 2 more weeks than
That
if you were
won't-
done on the 10th.
That day won't work. The 31st will have to be the option. Those are the only 2 options. Just letting you all know.
Well, the meeting with the commissioners, that's in the morning, isn't it?
This is the first I've heard about any court-ordered mediation.
Mr.
I don't
Chairman.
know the timing.
Wouldn't be an
Mr.
issue.
Chairman, if I could offer you any guidance, trying to set your schedule around a federal court mediation hearing and the Board of County Commissioners meeting is going to, I think, unduly tie your hands. You set the date at what you believe to be an appropriate date.
And it doesn't have to be a Wednesday.
That's what I was going to say, too.
We
There's nothing in the
default to
bylaws.
Wednesdays, but it does not have to be a Wednesday.
Okay. Well, we can make it the 30th.
The 30th would be a Tuesday. The 25th is also an option.
Well, what do you want?
Thursday.
I'll need a motion, so somebody can make a motion. Put the
I
date
don't think
in
that'll
there.
work with all people on Crooks Hill, because we got a family reunion that day.
Mr. Chairman, I hate to, and believe me, I don't enjoy speaking at these meetings. If I could offer a suggestion based on that comment and others, if you could set it for the 30th, I think that would allow flexibility in time for publication, the mailing notice, and possibly whenever the new special use permit application might arrive.
Okay.
Yeah, 30th is a Tuesday. It works.
Yep.
That works.
That work for everybody here? Okay. Still need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we table case number DEV 22-067 until Tuesday, August 30th, with the understanding that if no new special use permit is brought forward, that we will act upon the current revocation.
Commissioner Denny, would you set a time?
5:30, good. 5:30 on Tuesday, August 30th, 2022.
Second.
Jaden? Have a motion on the floor with the second to table case number DEV 22-067, special use termination for flatland excavating until August 30th at 5:30 p.m. If a new special use is not presented, then we will act on the existing special use permit. Is there any further discussion? And does everybody understand the motion? Mark Denny,
Yes.
Ellen Stork,
Yes.
Jaden Bailey,
Yes.
Marcus Major.
Yes.
Robert Owens?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, and the reason?
My reason is I think I've taken several hours. I've read every inch of these books we've been presented. Taken time away from my family, my grandkids. I've taken off work. I've viewed the numerous locations around Leavenworth County that is affected by this stuff on my own personal time, and I think we've given enough time. I think this should have came to a vote tonight, and we either should have given these guys their SUP or we should have said no. That's my reason.
Okay. Tom Dials?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 1. Okay, next month. Moving on to the next case.
I'm going to take a small pause so I can make sure the people in the rotunda get in.
Give them a couple minutes. We'll get more people here too. Okay. Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now hear case number DEV 22-082, special use permit, Premier Lawn Service, as outlined in the posted agenda. Does require a public hearing. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Applicants can speak for 5 minutes. Staff report.
Good evening, Commissioners. For you is a request for a new special use permit for a landscaping business located on Honey Creek Road. This is a vacant lot. The applicant in question, Premier Lawn Service LLC, had actually started services on the property before they sought their special use permit. The code enforcement officer did go to the property. He sent them a letter, and they responded quickly and got their application in to comply with the regulations. This type of business does require a special use permit in the RR 2.5 and RR5 zoning. It's actually this property zoned both. The owners submitted a narrative stating that they actually do have an existing shed on the property. They are aware that they need to get a building permit for that, and that they said that they would comply with that requirement. They currently store their business operation equipment on site. They also have employees come to the site. Currently, there are 7 employees that do go to the site. They have plans for up to 9 employees to come to the site. Typically, what a typical operation is, they open at 7. Their employees come to the site. They pick up their trucks and trailers and the equipment needed for that day's job. They leave and go to respective sites across the county to perform that work, and then they come back at the end of the day to drop off the equipment. Staff was made aware, obviously, of the existing building without the permit. The applicant is aware that he needs to rectify that situation as part of this process. In addition to that, staff had made multiple recommended conditions in order to reduce or mitigate any negative impacts that would happen on the property. However, this property is designated for residential 3 units per acre as part of the comprehensive plan map. So because of that, staff is recommending denial because it does not conform to the future land use plan. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. I also wanted to add most of their business operations occur from April to October, like most landscaping businesses do. But again, if you have any questions, please let me know.
Any questions of staff?
Once again, we got a SUP coming before us. They build a building, no building permit. I drove through the county multiple times this week. Everywhere I see a sign that says Leavenworth County is zoned, building permits required. My question is, does Am I the only guy in the county that can read and follows our laws in Leavenworth County, or are we just not taken seriously?
As mentioned, he did receive a letter, and pretty much within a week of receiving that letter, he got in contact with us and did the right thing.
And he has gotten a building permit.
He was unaware that he had to do the special use permit to perform the type of operations he was doing on the site. And same with the building permit. He did not know that a building of the size that he was putting on there did require a building permit. But again, once contacted and told, he said he would comply. Aside from that, I don't know what else to say.
Any other questions of staff? Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition will give your name and address each time you begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. The public comment portion of this hearing is now open, reminding everybody, anybody for or against, limited to 3 minutes. Applicant can have 5 minutes. Will the applicant please come forward? Can you put up the requirements that we're going to?
We do not have them on the slides show. I'm sorry.
You don't?
We do not have the clock.
Please state your name and address. And
Bobby Knowles. My address is 652 Shady Bend Drive, Tonganoxie, Kansas 66086.
Okay. You have anything to add to the?
Yes, sir. Just a few things. I have a few pictures of the property that were taken today. If I could pass around to the board. I don't know if that's allotted or not. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Obviously, there's been some neighbor complaints. Just kind of wanted to take those and address those mainly. It seems that there's been a big concern for chemicals stored on the property, and those possibly leaking into creeks and ponds and that sort of thing. We don't store any chemicals on property. We're not chemical applicators. Any calls we get for that are outsourced to a couple of different subcontractors for us. There's been a couple of other complaints about burning without permits and that sort of thing. We've been on this property since December, if I remember correctly, is when we purchased the property. We burned 4 times, possibly 5, and each time we burned, we've gotten a county burn permit. I'm a former fireman. Eric's a police officer. Every time we burn, we've had fire extinguishers set up and ready to go out in our trucks. We haven't had an issue with anything getting out of control yet. And these burns have mainly been scrap piles from jobs, which we've talked to codes and we found that we can't bring limbs and that sort of thing from jobs to burn, and that's ceased. So that's not even happening anymore. A couple other issues has been speeding and that sort of thing down 206th and down Honey Creek. Just to add to that, when you pull up to the intersection going east on Honey Creek to 206th, you'll see in one of those photos a picture of a stop sign. There's a large bush in the way, and if you don't stop at that stop sign, you're pulling out into blind traffic, you're going to get hit. So that is a must for us to stop at that stop sign. The other would be speeding down Honey Creek Road. Our property entrance, you can see from standing at that intersection. The speed limit there is posted at 35 miles an hour, and pulling a truck and trailer and getting up to 35 miles an hour would be a task in itself. So that's just like to mitigate that. And some of our vehicles have monitors for our insurance that covers hard stops and frequent and fast accelerations. And to circle back, to go back to the shed, we didn't build it. It was a prefab shed, so that's why we kind of thought there was a little difference there. But codes has again informed us that that's a no-no, so that's why we obviously went ahead and attempted to make that right with them. Debris in the creeks. Eric and I are doing our best to be a good steward of the land. We bought the land, and one of the first things we did was started to clean out the creeks. And by creeks, they're dry creek beds, but when it rains, they get overflows from pond and the local pastures, so they do run a little bit. One of the creeks is completely cleaned out, and that was done several months ago, and the other we're still in the process of cleaning out. In fact, we still have a burn pile there's a whole bunch of things. There's vinyl siding, there's all kinds of different stuff that we've put in there that we still need to sort and go through. So that's kind of what we're seeing there. The land is well kept, it's mowed. We've actually made contact with a rancher saying if there's not much land there, but if you want to hay it, you're more than welcome to come over and hay it and bale it. You can have it. We have no use for that, so we offer that up for another local rancher to have. And then the other thing would be our factors to be considered here. Going over the list, we've met all the criteria except for the one that would require us to have a special use permit. We've been in touch with Kyle from Codes, and they've been great, by the way, extremely helpful. They've been a good resource for us. Would also like to add that Kyle is listed as code enforcement / environmental technician, and in the code enforcement study here under factors to be considered, he even lists that there is no issue with any environmental factors that we're doing. So, I
Anything
guess.
else?
We also, I'm planning to build a residence on the property within, hopefully the next year. We'll see how the supply goes with some of the supply chain issues we're running into right now. I can't even get power scheduled through Evergy out there, but that's on my list to do out there. And then if we can divide the land up a little bit, my business partners talked about building out there as well. But plan to build at least a 4-bedroom house out there. So, and if you have no other questions or no questions for me at this time. Yes, sir.
Is that building a portable building that you moved in?
It is. Yeah, it was actually at my personal residence, and I built a pool, and the wife didn't like it in the backyard because I had some mowers in there. So we needed a building to put some of our equipment into under lock and key, and so I just paid the company to come out and move it out there one day. And honestly, the thought of a permit didn't even cross my mind because it's portable, it's sitting on a couple of blocks. So.
Okay. And the burning is not a regular thing? You're not burning daily?
No, sir. We're not burning daily.
How about traffic going in and out during the day?
Traffic going out in the day, as stated in the special use application. So we have 3 trucks. We have two mowing crews and a landscape crew. So we have 5 to 7 employees typically. It depends. Sometimes we have to hire or fire, but typically I would say 7. We'll go with the high number. They come in the mornings to be on time for work, 6:30 a.m. We leave to have the job sites at 7. So there's 3 trips out. And then on the rare, when we were dumping, usually the dump trailer, the crew on the landscape side would come back to dump once in the burn pile, and then we'd head back to the job site if we were doing tree removal or debris removal or that sort of thing for the day. But again, those operations have ceased. And then they come back at the end of the day, usually 4 or 5 o'clock. Those 3 trucks come back, and then those 7 employees leave. I didn't know.
Back into the burn pile daily or even weekly then?
I'm sorry, to hear you.
You're not hauling back into that burn pile on a daily or a weekly basis?
No, I would say on average 2 times a week is what we were doing. Now those operations have ceased. No.
You call the sheriff's department and get a burn permit?
We do it online from our phones each time. Each time we burn it. Now we weren't burning twice a week. We would put some limbs or debris, or if we're doing a garden bed cleanup, we may have a 10, 15-gallon trash bag full of just some weeds or something that we would throw in the burn pile. But on the occasion, we would burn, once every, month and a half or whenever we'd burn it, whenever it get to a little bit of a substantial size, we would absolutely fill out a burn permit. Yes, sir. And I'm sure that's documented somewhere.
If we approve it, the staff has recommendation 16. Have you reviewed all those 16 recommendations?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we have.
Do you have any questions on any of them?
I did. Did you have any? No, sir.
Okay.
And I'll also add, our neighbors are very important to us. What people think of my business, our business, that impacts how we feel and how we operate. Granted, we're not always going to see eye to eye every time. A couple of those neighbors are in here, and I'm sure that they'll tell you that we've talked to them and we've asked them, hey, how can we make this better for you? What can we do to mitigate this issue? We want to be friendly. We want to be inviting. We're not out there having parties at 3 a.m. on the weekends. I mean, there's no. It's nothing like that. As you can see, we chose the location where we're storing this equipment at on purpose because it's down in a valley and it's to the west side. As you can see from the top of our hill looking east, the majority of the residences, with the exception of 2, can't even see what we're doing unless they come to the back of their property lines. So I think there was some misinformation that was maybe spread, and some people kind of took that and ran with it. But we want to put their minds at ease. There's no huge shop and 20 to 30 trucks going to be coming and going out here. That's not the type of business that we're trying to run. We're small, we're family operated, and honestly, I don't see it getting much bigger than what it currently is. Up to 9 is probably what we're going to end up with.
So 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. is good, Monday through Friday?
Yes, sir.
No weekends?
Occasional weekends, if we get a couple rain delays, never Sundays. We don't work on Sundays. We don't ask our guys to work on Sundays. Sometimes a half day on Saturday, probably. But that would probably be about the extent of it. If we're ever out there on the weekends, usually we're out there just cleaning mowers or trying to get stuff cleaned up and stuff like that. So.
And 9 employees other than the owner?
Is that what our special use permit, did it say up to 9, I think is what it said, or for growth?
Yeah, that's what I
thought that's what we put. I just don't want to leave it.
That's what's on there.
Yes, that's correct, yeah.
Okay. And the bond, you understand what the bond is, $1 million bond?
I have not been talked to about $1 million bond.
Okay, number 3 is the applicant provides certificate of general liability insurance.
No, I do. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Well, not a bond, I guess it's insurance.
Yeah, yes, sir, we have that.
Okay, all right. I don't think anything else is on here. You got the noise part, 60 decibels, so at the property line. I don't think there was anything else in there. What do you do with your waste then, if you're going and you do tree trimming and stuff like that?
Right now, we haven't been doing any of it. The little bit that we have been doing is we've taken to the dump a couple of times, but other than that, we've just not been doing those jobs.
To the transfer station?
Well, some's gone to Deaf and Ball. A lot of our jobs are in Johnson County, so.
Yeah, you can't bring it.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant? Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thanks, folks.
We'll now hear from individuals present wishing to speak in favor of this request. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this request? Favor of?
Favor of.
Name and address, please.
My name is Howard Crook. I live at 31871 223rd Street, Easton, Kansas. And I just want to say that these 2 gentlemen that just come up here and proposed an SUP was outstanding. That is the type of business we want in our county. 2 gentlemen that are trying to make it on their own. We're concerned about the fire, burn permits. We're concerned about the traffic. Sounds like they've got it under wraps. And this is the kind of SUP that we want in Leavenworth County, guys. This is what we want. 2 guys trying to make it, trying to make a business that care about the community. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this request? In favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? Opposition.
Opposition. Richard Chapman, 20662 Honey Creek Road. I live on the corner. And I'm against it for a lot of the reasons that we put in our letters. The gentleman talked about vehicles and employees. There's at least 18 to 20 trips of employees back and forth. There's probably 10 or 12 trips with equipment back and forth during the day, creating huge amounts of dirt and dust. Excuse me. I'm concerned about, if it's approved, future disposition of oil and tires and batteries. The one gentleman said this is the type of business we need in the county. That's fine. Maybe they could move it up to his area of the county. You know, when I moved out there 40 years ago, a lot of people here 40, 50 years. It's rural residential. It's agricultural. It was not zone commercial. It's not zone commercial now. I was in business for 35 years. My business is in a commercial area. I followed commercial rules, just like Mr. Owen said. You drive down any road, there's a sign that says permits required for all building. There's signs that say no commercial vehicles on roads. This is adding, more commercial vehicles to the already taxed road system, the dirt and dust. We've all got pools in the neighborhood. My pool's full of dust, much, much more now. The dust just rolls over the clouds, rolls over the road, clouds of dust. It's bad. I understand they're trying to make a living. I appreciate that. But it's a rural residential, it's agricultural, and I don't think it has any place for a commercial business. If it's approved, then I worry about what happens with that property. What happens after it's approved, if there's going to be more debris hauled out there, if there's going to be oil changes, if there's going to be things buried. I don't know. I don't want to take a chance on it. I've got a 40-year investment. I know Jerry's got a long-term investment. All the neighbors around there that wrote letters, I think there's probably 8 or 10 letters against it. The same thing. So that's my take on it. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
How far are you away, is your pool away from the road?
Well,
Goes in and out?
it sits right at the corner. I don't know.
Well, I'm at 300 feet?
No, probably 200 feet from the road. I think that my property is 400 by 400 thereabouts, so it's up halfway, 3/4 of a way, so probably 250 feet up there. I run 300 feet of hose down to water my trees. I put trees up a couple years ago for privacy and to cut down the dust. I'm down there watering it, and I'm sorry. I know you're trying to make.
Sir, address us.
Sorry, but the trucks are by there 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock. They're back and forth during the day. They're there on the weekends. The dump truck rattles, and I mean it's extremely loud. Dump trucks back and forth. The dump bed hauling debris. Jerry lives right next door to it. It's got to be even worse. And then my neighbor to the west, which he's not here tonight, he's right next to the road where they rattle and bang all, back and forth during the day. So there's got to be at least 25 or 30 trips between the employees and the equipment extra on that road every day back and forth. And on Saturdays, I've seen a lot of activity on Saturday. I understand about rain. I mow, but we live there. And we eat the dirt and choke on it, and we worry about what gets into the streams and gets in, all this lawn debris comes back to us. One of the neighbors that signed the letter, he has cattle. His cattle drink out of that stream. All of it goes down to where his cattle are watered.
Sir, your time is up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, though.
Okay.
You are watching.
Question? Anything?
Okay. Excuse me?
Anybody want to ask?
No, I think we asked your questions already.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
Name's Jerry Newberry. Live on 20780 Honey Creek Road. The gentleman that owns the property is right behind me. I'm pretty much there every day. Rick's pretty well explained pretty much what it was and how it is. And the only thing the owners kind of left out whenever they was talking, I talked to one the other day, and they kind of want to wait till mowing season's over. And he promised me there would be less traffic. But I talked to this gentleman when he bought this place, approximately about a month after. His third word that came out of his mouth, oh, I'm not going to run a business. But like I said, I can see everything down my driveway, on the road, and I'm just like Rick. We got 4 swimming pools. We can't keep them clean anymore for all the dust, the dirt, the noise. But then also what they left out was the gentleman said that they're trying to buy some land up on 2440, and then it's a business area. And I informed him that he did purchase land. It's residential. We've all been there. We're all in our 60s, and we've all been there 35, 40 years. None of you would like a commercial business besides your house. What's it going to do to our assessed value of our houses as a business? Put a business next door, your property value goes down. So other than that, Rick's pretty well explained it. So I'm not opposed to this business. So
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition?
My name's William Gergic. I live at 20842 Honey Creek Road. And Rick said most of what was going on, but I'll start off with, I made a little list of notes here. When they put their gate in, they didn't check with anybody, and they just put a gate into the road. And they got trailers and trucks, and they have to swing wide. So as they swing wide, they're tearing down the shoulders of the road to get in and out of there. You know, they should have, if they'd have talked to you guys first, they would have probably had to make the gate sit back off the road 15, 20 feet so that they could swing in and out of there without tearing up the road. If you go through there now, especially when it's been raining and stuff, you got to pass somebody, they're swinging so far, they're starting to dig a rut, and they're going to pull you into the ditch. Okay, there's already a good amount of traffic out there, and Leavenworth County did a study not too long ago, and you probably should look at that study and then maybe do another study and see what the difference is, how much it's increased. You guys got numbers already from just a little while back. Okay, and then it's also, they're increasing the stranger traffic. And what I'm talking about is out in that field, I know I've seen anywhere from 6 to probably 10 cars parked. And these are people none of us know. And we're pretty tight-knit. We kind of keep track of everybody's stuff, you know. We like to know maybe who shouldn't be out there. They were bringing waste out from other jobs. And like he said, most of his work, or a lot of his work, is in Johnson County. Why didn't they give him a permit to do it out there and be next to where he's working? Well, because Johnson County doesn't want to be a dump. And I don't know why Leavenworth County would want to be. So, anyhow. And then, of course, we got to worry about the runoff from the water. And others have livestock out there. And, you know, and most of us have been out there most of our family's been out there for a long, long time. That's what I have to say. Any questions
Any
for me?
questions of the gentleman? Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
The public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are any questions or comments, commissioners? How much gravel road is there that they're going down? They live pretty close to an intersection.
I don't know what all routes they take when leaving the site or coming to the site. I imagine most of it does travel through. Was that 206th Street up? But that was not asked. I will say they had to provide as part of their special use permit application travel, number of vehicles that are traveled per day, per month.
Yeah.
That was reviewed by our engineering department, and they felt it complied with our requirements for that road type.
Is 206 gravel?
I believe it's chip and seal.
It's chipped and sealed, isn't it? Yeah, that's what I thought it was chipped and
So
sealed.
you're talking, he's probably what, about 1,000 feet off of 206 feet? Okay.
Measured today, sir, it's 0.20 miles. It's not even a quarter mile from our
Okay.
gate to 206th Street.
Okay. So the county's still doing chip and sealing, right? They pay for it, correct?
Sorry, Commissioner, say that again?
County still does chip and seal for if you pay for it, correct?
Yes, that program has changed in the last couple of years. We only do a certain amount of it each year. You have to be signed up by a certain deadline. And I'm sorry, I do not know what that deadline is off the top of my head. That's a public works policy. I believe it's springtime, and they only do a certain number of miles each year. But yes, the applicant pays for it.
Okay. Are you still doing the calcium?
No.
No, I don't think so.
No. So it's
Commissioner
just-
Rosenthal and, Chairman Rosenthal, members of the commission, realistically, it would be 2 to 3 years before, if they were to make application at the earliest opportunity, given the demand for that type of service, given the current cost of chip and sealing roads, 2 to 3 years minimum.
Okay. I would thought that would take care of the dust situation if we could get that done for that length of time. I did it, but that's been several years ago. So, Anyway, that was my thought on that, but apparently that's not going to work, so. Anybody else have any comments?
What are you guys doing with your environmental waste? Your oil, your tires? I mean,
His uncle has a auto body or auto repair shop. He does all our maintenance. Our tires go to Cost Tire. They do all of our tires. So even our lawnmowers, we'll plug them out there, but we load them up on a trailer, and then when the guys are heading into the job site or heading out to mow, we'll stop by Todd's. Todd's really good about getting sent out. We have
you don't do no oil changes, anything out there? No oil leaving in containers. Nothing spilled in the creek. No.
How about future rule changes?
We don't honestly, we don't have time. We're trying to run the business and keeping track of all of our clients and our employees and everything else. We just don't have time to do it. And the lawn business market is so thin, we're not big enough to hire a mechanic. So that's
I understand.
Go ahead.
He also commented to me that they wanted to build a big workshop where they could start working on the lawnmowers. And when they start working on them, what goes on there?
So by that, we need to change out the ways.
I think.
Okay, one more question, and then did I close? I closed the public comment.
You closed the public hearing.
Okay, one more comment, and then that's it.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
It's also been noted that they do snow removal and salt distribution in the winters. So are those trucks going to be back and forth all winter long, carrying salt and chemicals to put on parking lots and driveways, which could leach into the water system?
Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Comments?
I've got a couple of questions on the requirements, conditions. On number, lost it now. The number 12, no lawn waste from outside Leavenworth County shall be disposed at the Leavenworth County Transfer Station. How is that going to be regulated?
That is actually, I believe, a transfer county policy. I do not know. That used to be a transfer county policy. I'm quite certain. I do not know if that is still a policy of the transfer county, but the transfer county, the transfer station, excuse me. So that is up to the transfer station to police. But as they stated, most of their materials are being disposed of.
We're setting out conditions. I always like to know how we're going to enforce them, and I don't know how you enforce that one. But anyway, and then my second one is I'm still trying to wrap my head around and understand how we're going to do these. Once we approve an SUP, that they're set. They don't have to come back. So number of employees, 9. So what happens? They have to come back if they go to 10?
Commissioner, so there's a couple things. One, the commission and ultimately the Board of County Commissioners can, at their discretion, put a limit and say, no, we want to see you back in 3 years. That is certainly the discretion. Secondarily, yes, the amendment to the regulation clearly stated that any changes to the operations do require the applicant to come back in for a new special use permit. And that is partially the honor system and also partially, as I think we all know, oftentimes we hear complaints from neighbors, and at that point that triggers a staff visit to go out and see what's going on and to contact the applicant, the business owner.
That's all the questions I have.
Anybody else?
Well, I would say with our current SUP situations in Leavenworth County, we probably need to enforce a timeline on the review of SUPs and the operations, therefore, that these businesses are conducting. Whether there's complaints or no complaints, I believe now we don't, once we get it's just ongoing. We don't bring them back in. We don't ask any more questions. We don't see if they grew. We don't see if they have more employees. We don't know anything. I think
That's how it always has been up until the last 6 months, 8, 9 months, and the county commission decided that they didn't want that policy.
Well, I wasn't on the board then.
Well, it wasn't our,
Yeah.
it wasn't our decision.
Yeah,
It was the
well,
county
I think we are the voice to our county commissioners, and we are to recommend to them, and I think maybe we need to, as a new group of individuals in here, recommend that we need to take a look at these SUPs on a more frequent basis than just letting them run wild in the community.
I'm not going to disagree with you, Robert, on that one. But
Yeah, I wasn't here when we changed all that. I'm here now.
The county commissioners that we have right now,
I think he was, wasn't he?
are not going to.
Yeah, you were here when they changed.
Yeah, that just changed.
That just
That changed right as me and Mr. Bailey came in.
Right.
No, it was before. It was after that. It was just a couple, 3 months ago.
Yeah. I don't see that change.
You've been here since then. They changed it.
So that comes to my question, and if I may, there's nothing to regulate whether it's 9 trips, 12 trips, 20 trips a day. There's nothing to regulate that.
No.
There's nothing to regulate or to oversee the number of employees or not. There's nothing to regulate. The concern is a business. The land was probably purchased to buy a nice house, build a nice house on. And I agree. It looks like a nice piece of land. It looks pretty. It's nice. And now, now we're running business out of it.
Well, I'm going to tell you from my personal experience that dust is an issue. I mean, I lived on a gravel road for years and years, and that I chip and sealed in front of my house and paid dearly for it. And I still get dust because from the south of my house, it's not, and the dust, and weather like this, the dust is just going, and the wind comes from the south. We're in a cloud of dust all the time. And it's and I can't complain because there's no businesses down there. The people that are coming and going are the people who live on the road. But when you start putting more traffic on the road, it's just increasing the dust.
Well, that's a good point. That we've had a population growth that's been tremendous out there.
Correct.
But not just the businesses, but just the people. Naturally is going to cause a lot more dust problems. So.
Commissioners, I would just like to make a couple statements regarding the Board of County Commissioners' intentions with the special use permit process. 2 points. One, they did want to streamline the process for existing businesses who had been operating, for years and years without any problems, so that those folks did not have to come back. I believe also the intention was that special use permits would be looked at with utmost scrutiny. Because of this change, that we would, really take into account the impact on the surrounding neighborhood, because they are, again, intended to be operated indefinitely, if you will. And then I said 2 points, but I suppose I had a third. The third was that I can think of no special use permits that were granted over the last 8 years that when they came back in to be renewed, that were not renewed. And that was, again, part of the purpose. Again, if they are operating outside of the confines of their conditions, we hear about that quite often, and then that can, as you well know, trigger a response from staff or from the Board of County Commissioners or from you all. So just to keep that in mind, that that was the point of amending that policy.
I'd make just a comment on that, and I agree with you that almost all of them, I can't think of one we denied, but a point could be made that the reason being is because they know they have to come back in here.
And that may be.
And they know they have to follow these things.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Certainly.
Trouble is, adding a little bit probably is not going to change, not going to trigger anything anybody's complaining about them. If they have 15 employees, they're probably not going to come back because they probably won't realize they have 15.
Right.
Also, I think it's worth noting the appraiser's office does go out, I believe it's every 3 years, Mr. Van Paris, if they're required to go out. The appraiser's office does a really good job of checking in with staff to see what the terms of business operations are supposed to be. So that is another safeguard in place.
Okay, any more comments, or I'll entertain a motion?
Good, I think.
Looking for a motion?
Yeah, I'm looking for a motion.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I move that we deny case number DEB 22-082, special use permit for Premier Lawn Services. It's outlined in the staff report of the golden factors. It does not meet the comprehensive plan, and I believe the dust generated from the traffic will be a burden on the neighbors.
Second.
Motion. That's what we on. Tom Dials made second. You're down here. Have a motion on the floor with a second to deny the special use permit. Is there any further discussion?
Here's the only thing I have to say. There's 160 acres right over there, or probably 600. What are we going to do when they come in? They want to split that into 2.5 acre tracts and develop that. We're going to hear the same story about this dust situation. The scenario is Leavenworth County is probably growing faster than the city of Leavenworth and Lansing. Everybody wants to live in the county. We're going to have a dust problem. I get it. I just don't know if the dust is enough to deny a business a place to work out of.
It's the traffic.
But
If you're agreeing that it is.
if I may, I think it's more than a dust. I think it's running business next to residential homes in a residential area. I think that's where it is. I think, yeah, it's more philosophical. This business has a prestige service. It does. I've got friends that use them. It's great. The problem is why should Leavenworth County residents pay the price of you buying a nice set of land next to them and then commence to running a business out of their backyard when there's business opportunity lands to be purchased or bought? We have a business district that could be used.
Yeah.
That's my only complaint.
We can't even get anybody in it.
That's my only complaint is,
And they'll make you a heck of a deal.
so that, you know what I'm saying? Now, majority of the businesses that I know that are similar to this, they just happen to be living on paved roads. So it's fairly easy for them to run a quiet, small business, 2 or 3 trucks, and they do. But this is a great lawn service, and they're going to grow. I hope they do grow. They're going to grow, and they should grow.
Yeah. That's why I was hoping for the chip and seal, if we could get that to where the dust would be issue and improve the road for everybody, actually, improve the road for the neighbors too. So, anyway, any other discussion? We'll have a roll call vote. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, let me speak.
All right, come on up, though.
My name is Eric Janesco. I live at 927 North Oak Terrace in Tonganoxie as well. We are in current process with the getting into the Urban Hess development there, the business district. Basically, our long-term goal is never to expand this lot to be the headquarters for Premier Lawn Services. Our goal is to get into a commercial property, and we're in talks with Port Authority. We're actually on their docket to review our request at their next meeting on the 18th. We were basically pushed into this special use permit, as we have previously stated. We didn't even know we needed it, and that's just ignorance on our behalf. But we are in the process. We've got loans approved for a commercial building to go into Urban Hess. We're just going through the Port Authority process to acquire one of the spots there in Tonganoxie. It's not an overnight process, of course. We are told it's about a 4-month process for the Port Authority's portion, and then potentially another couple months after that. In lieu of denial, we would even accept like a
6 month,
like 8 months. Something. I don't know how quick they can build it throughout the winter, but it's not a long-term deal us being into this land. So, but kicking us out of it immediately would be detrimental for us staying in Leavenworth County. So we right now, like you said, we employ 8 people. We don't expect to expand past 9, especially if we're staying into this property. But that's not our goal. We've had some good expansion over the last couple of years and been able to hire a lot of local Tonganoxie people. And we pay well. We're bringing decent paying jobs into Tonganoxie. I mean, 18 plus an hour. And our goal is, if once we get into the Urban Hess, is to expand there. But we will not expand on this lot past those 9 employees that we put in our sub. But until we get to that Urban Hess, we have nowhere basically to bring our business. So that's kind of the rock and the hard place we're in right now. And speaking with our neighbor Jerry spoke today, I informed him of that. It sounds like nobody really knew that was our intentions. I mean, for how many times I see our trucks are going down the road and pass it, my phone number, my personal phone number is big on the side of it. We've more than enough times told anyone that's our neighbors that we're open to discussions, we're open to calls. One of the neighbors who wrote in a complaint actually had us come do an estimate for her when we first got out there. So she has my direct information, my email, my phone. She knows my name. Never heard a complaint from anyone. The first time we knew that any neighbor was dissatisfied with us was when I got the letter in the mail saying that we needed a special use permit for this property. So I'm sure that they can attest to it, and codes can attest to it. We've been on the ball. The second that we get a letter or we get an email, we respond and we try and take quick action. I mean, we're not here to waste your guys' time, especially. We're not here to cause codes to be wasted with us when they could be out doing other stuff. And, we just are just trying to follow the proper policies and procedures that Leavenworth County set into place. And, I mean, it's only a temporary thing on this land. So,
all right.
Any questions for me?
Any questions for him? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So could we set, like a 1 year? I mean, I don't know what it takes, but
I would do.
Could we set like a
year?
like a 1 year or 6 months?
Crystal, is that
8 months?
I think a year is.
Could we give them a year to get their building built and get out of, and we have them back in here in a year from this date, a year from today, and we see where they're at. I mean, that's how I want to follow up on these SUPs. I want to keep on track of these guys. So
that won't stop the dust now, though.
Yeah, that's not going to reduce the. I mean, if we give a year, we're going to have to lay down some kind of stipulations in order to, and according to the request. He's only making 2 or 3 trips a day.
Could I have equal time to rebuttal?
Yeah.
Sir, well, I think we've heard everything.
I mean, how do we limit? If we give the year, this is what he says. He does 2 or 3 trips a day.
I think you put the stipulation of in a year we expect a move to a business district.
Yeah.
That would be our expectation, so that we can kind of guide the natural development of what we want to happen. So from the philosophical question, we want people to start businesses. And sometimes they don't have the financial resources to automatically go into a business district, and not only the red tape they have to go through to get there. So we're kind of penalizing them for starting a small business out of their home, but what other choice do they have? This could be a way for us to kind of steward that process.
That's been my whole philosophical. To me, this is like the golden child of what a SUP should be, because we've talked about it for years, Steve. We want them to start small, to grow, be successful for Leavenworth County.
Right.
move to a business district. That's what they're saying they're wanting to do.
Saying they would do.
So I mean, that's what we've been wanting.
And that's what we want.
Right.
But again, neighbors have to live with it for a year.
Well, I don't even think we need to add one because after a year, they're done.
Yeah.
So
True. It's only good for 1 year.
So that there's no reason for them to come back in my opinion. After a year, they're done.
We've got tons of empty business parks in Leavenworth County that are looking for good businesses to fill them. I mean, we just don't have one. We got lots of them sitting around empty that are looking for businesses.
Where were the trucks parked before? Why don't they go back?
Did you have something?
Running the trucks before?
Well, Commissioners, the applicants before you are a firefighter and a police officer. They're public servants. They take oaths of office. I think you have the right to expect that they will keep their word. And there's no reason to doubt that they will keep their word. If you were to perhaps request that they endeavor to their best ability to effect a transfer of the operations into an industrial park within 1 year, they're working with the Port Authority. The county has an economic development director they can access for assistance in this. A 1-year special use permit and put it in your minutes that it is the position of the Planning Commission to strongly consider no extension of that 1 year. And during that interim, since it's 1/5 of a mile off of a hard surface road, a voluntary slow down policy would certainly be amenable, or should be amenable, to reduce the dust burden upon the neighbors. We've all driven down county roads, and this time of year in particular, you go over 20, you're raising a cloud. And 20 miles an hour for 1/5 of a mile may be irksome to their drivers, but it certainly isn't burdensome to the overall operations of business.
I agree with that.
It's actually farther than 1/5 because that's from 206th Street to their property. It's affected on down the road too. So we're talking probably 3/4 of a mile that's actually affected.
All right.
Rural residential.
We have a motion on the floor. Tom, are you still good with your second?
Heard a proposal to amend it.
What?
I haven't heard a proposal to amend or withdraw the motion. You want me to withdraw the motion? Or amend it?
Well, I will propose the motion to amend.
Well, you can't. Can
I'm
you
the second.
amend my motion?
Yeah.
I can't amend my motion.
You can amend it from a denial to approval.
Well, the motion on the floor is
I can
to
change it.
deny. You can.
To deny.
We can put it to a vote, but
I just don't like the fact that you have to, you live with it all summer and probably through the winter.
well,
I'll amend my motion to approve it for no longer than 1 year.
What's the stipulations that they will?
They have to honor all the stipulations.
Voluntary slowdown.
Yeah, and a voluntary slowdown.
I'm sure these guys would not have any objection of one of us rolling out there on a weekend to inspect their property. I'm sure you would welcome any one of us.
Well, you still probably will second.
I'll second your amendment.
So the motion is to approve case number DEV 22-81 special use permit for no longer than 1 year and add one more condition of a voluntary slowdown of vehicles on what is that road again? It's Honey Creek Road. Honey Creek Road. Okay. Do you accept that change?
Second.
Okay, we have that motion and a change. Any further discussion?
One quick question for the owners. Is this agreeable? Is this going to help it?
I didn't think he wanted a business in his backyard.
Well,
property anyway.
My point is, he's going to build a house out there. He's probably got some teenage kids. They're going to drive down that road. There's going to be dust. I've lived in the county.
Well, it's one thing to have dust for people who live there.
Yeah.
You have to accept that. But a business, I mean, we've denied special uses before because of dust and traffic. So it's not unusual to do that. It's just, you hate to stop a business, but, you got to think about other people also.
This way we're helping the business.
Yeah, and we want to encourage business, that's for sure, and especially someone who wants to move to a business park. So we have a motion on the floor. Roll call vote. Mark Denny.
Yes.
Ellen Stork.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Marcus Major.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. The Board of County Commissioners will consider this item no earlier than August 3rd, 2022 at 9 a.m. to Leavenworth County Courthouse. Kansas law allows a petition protesting the decision of Planning Commission to be filed. That protest petitions must be filed within 14 days after the date of this hearing. Additional information on the filing of the protest petition can be obtained in the Office of the Planning and Zoning. Just remember, you need to be here on August 3rd at 9 a.m. If you're for or against it, they are the ones who will actually make the final decision. We just recommend. So. Okay. Moving on. Leavenworth County Planning Commission will now consider as item DEV 22-051 consideration of the amendments of the 2006 Leavenworth zoning and subdivision regulations. It's outlined in the posted agenda. It does require public hearing. Public comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Staff report.
All right, Commissioners. This is the second phase of the Renewable Energy Conversion Systems regulations. Previously, you guys had adopted, or I should say the Board of County Commissioners had adopted solar energy conversion systems. This is the second phase, wind energy conversion. Preface this by saying staff has had multiple study sessions with the Board of County Commissioners to narrow down to the language that is provided for you to take for consideration. There are 3 articles that are being proposed to be amended. The first is Article 3, which is the definitions, Article 19, which is the table of uses, and Article 57, which is the renewable energy conversion systems. I can go through this with a fine-tooth comb if you like, or I can just skim it. What would you prefer?
Did everybody read it? Look it over? You all understand it? Have any questions on it? I read it. It made sense to me. So.
Just as clear as the wind.
I thought it was, so to speak. And it's been posted, right? And it's written and it's been out for public.
Right.
So we are going to open the public comment portion if anybody does want to talk on it. Do you want her to go more? Anybody? Or go good?
But is this one we're going to ask questions on?
We're going to be able to ask questions.
Okay.
Sure.
Because I have a couple of questions, but they're just minor type stuff.
Why don't we start with your questions and we go?
Mine is very minor. But looking at the table, the spreadsheet that you prepared, which I thought was great.
Yes.
The only thing I question, and I just don't understand why, on the style and color requirements, all the other counties had a yes, that they have some type of style and color requirement. Why don't we? I mean, I don't want nothing against your K-State purple, but I don't want an Easter egg purple windmill sitting out there.
A lot of style, we do actually have some stylistic requirements in here in regards to what type of system, specifically on the commercial side, that you can have. So you can have the monopole or you can have the A-frame type. We don't really allow for any other types beyond that. So stylistically, we do have some restrictions On color, I think industry standards limits those colors to primarily white.
Okay.
That's why you commonly see that. If that is something that you guys truly
Well, I was
want
just
to
curious
do-
because all the other counties had a yes in that, and we didn't. So I was just wondering why that was left out.
Some probably had the same concerns you did and wanted to put in that color, but that just never arose during our conversations. And
Like I said, it's pretty minor, but all I had.
Is that your only question? Not bad. For doing something, not only one question.
I've been
You guys done good.
I've been wanting
Amy
this.
did a great job.
Okay.
I want to put one on
I'll
my
continue on then unless I hear any objections. Upon opening the public comment portion of this hearing, those of you who wish to speak either for or against this item upon recognition, we give your name and address. It's time to begin to speak. This is necessary since the public hearing is being recorded. And a reminder, everybody, you're limited to 3 minutes per person. The public comment portion of the hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this request? Is there any additional information to be presented?
No, sir.
Public comment portion of this hearing is now closed. Are there any other additional questions, commissioners, or comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve case number DEV 22-051 as recommended by staff. That's all I need.
Yep, I think so.
I'll second that.
Robert, seconded. Motion on the floor with a second to approve case number DEV 22-051, consideration amendments to the 2006 Leavenworth County zoning subdivision regulations as outlined in the posted agenda. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Mark Denning.
Yes.
Alan Stork.
Yes.
Jaden Bailey.
Yes.
Marcus Major.
Yes.
Robert Owens.
Yes.
Tom Dials.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0. I guess I get to read this. The Board of County Commissioners considers item 9 a.m. on August 3rd, 2022 in the Leavenworth County Courthouse. Okay, we are adjourned out of the Planning Commission.